It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. It's Friday, and I hope you had an amazing week. I know we have an exciting weekend coming up, and I thought it would be good for me to take you on a journey and talk about our Agile, Not So Agile episode of the Daily Stand Up Podcast. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that I like to call me in 30 seconds. So let me give this to you because I think this is a powerful tool. This is something that I have taught to lots of people in my Agile classes. This is something that I've taught to lots of people personally, lots of my church congregation, some of my family members. And I think this is a good self analysis tool. So, with that being said, the name of the tool is called Me in 30 Seconds. And the concept behind it is if someone was only going to give you 30 seconds of their time to learn about you, what would you put together? What would you compile as your most important list of features, qualities, or attributes if you only had 30 seconds to tell them about it? So, if I said you only got 30 seconds to make this happen, what would you say in 30 seconds? What would you deliver? How would you describe yourself or what you do or what you love? How would you get it all out in 30 seconds and what would you say? And I think part of it is that I'm going to come right out and say, this is going to be different for every one of us, right? And if we're looking for a job, it's going to sound different than if we're a homemaker or if we have a professional career. So I think our me in 30 seconds is going to be different for each one of us. However, for me, I can say that first of all, 30 seconds feels like it's not a lot of time until you start speaking. If you've never done this before, I'm going to challenge you right now to pause the recording, pause the podcast, pull out a stopwatch, set your timer for 30 seconds, and try to speak for 30 seconds straight about a topic that you love, a topic you're familiar with. And what I'll tell you is that when you first start, 30 seconds seems super easy. But then as you get to second 26, 27, 28, you're going to realize that people start running out of things to say. You start becoming repetitive because 30 seconds is actually quite a long time. So, my question for you is if you only had 30 seconds, what would you start with? So, for me, I always say that I start with either something informational or fun, then I follow it up with something informational or fun, the one that I didn't do before, and then I'll always tie it back to some story or to something about me. So that way in 30 seconds I can give them the whole picture. So I want them to know about skills and where I am and all that good stuff. But if I only have 30 seconds, I don't have time to say everything. So with that being said, right out of the gate, I think people should start off their 30 seconds with, this is me. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. This is what's going on in my life. This is where I was. I'm married. I'm single. I have kids. I don't have kids. Just the things that people want to know but aren't going to ask you directly, right? Because I think that all those things are, really, really important in order for us to build relationships with other people. But I also think it's incredibly critical if you're looking for a job or if you're trying to advance in your career or if you're trying to make additional friends. These are all things and places where you'd apply this me in 30 seconds. So you need to describe who you are in case they don't know you. What are you doing or what are you trying to do? Tell me something about you that's a strength that separates you from everyone else. And then close with something that's going to solidify the logic of why you talk to me and what your expected end outcome is. And I think if you can pull those things together, it's going to give you the perfect me in 30 seconds. Because quite honestly, you have to update it. It's not something you're just going to memorize and say once. This is something that's going to be different based on who you're talking to and what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. But the clue is when you have 30 seconds, even though it may not feel like, oh my goodness, this is a long time, it really is a while. So we need to be mindful of all those things that we say and do because you got to remember 30 seconds it feels like a long time, but it's not a long time. And if you've only got 30 seconds to tell people your key selling points, you need to make sure you hit the best ones right up front. But you have to be careful also that you don't want it to turn into a sales pitch. So here's my advice. As soon as you get off this podcast episode, try recording yourself. Give yourself 30 seconds, try recording yourself with your cell phone, with a camera, with whatever you got, and listen back to it and see if you feel like if you are on the outside looking in, have a friend do it for you. If you're on the outside looking in and they're watching you speak, how would they take what you said? Would they say, "Oh, that comes across as very pompous," or "That comes across as very conceited," or "That comes across as very educated," or "That comes across as very charitable"? And you need to kind of decide where you want to be, because there's lots and lots of amazing opportunities abound if we jump and take advantage of them. But if we don't, we're going to be stuck in this endless circle of woe. So, might I encourage you to take the time needed to figure out what you can do, and take advantage of that. Because if you know your story, and you know what you can do, and you know what your talents are, and you know that one key point that you're trying to get across, and you're very eloquent about it, the manager is going to be more likely to give you a further idea or recommendation, or moving forward, let's talk about what we can do to do this together. You're more likely to get a positive outcome if you understand the concept of Me in 30 Seconds. So if you haven't done this before, I encourage you, look it up online, Me in 30 Seconds. There's a lot of information out there. And I know that if you do this, that I'm confident that it'll help you both in your professional and personal life. That's going to do it for today. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I look forward to talking with you more next week. And until then, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.